recording right now.
Okay.
That way Richard can leave early.
Technically, but in reality, I won't be going anywhere. So.
Maybe go to the next room.
Eugenio already did.
Yeah. Well, I'll turn off the computer.
There you go.
Am I good
Okay.
to go, Matt?
Anna, you're all set.
Great, thank you. This deliberations for the City Planning Commission hearing on August 10, 2020. During deliberations, City Planning Commission members review cases and take action by voting. There is no participation by applicants or the public. I want to thank you all for joining us. So as we were just discussing, we're going to hear cases 2 through 6 first, and then we'll do case number 1 at the very end as one of our members is recusing themselves. I'm going to start off by just saying something. So we're reviewing 3 zoning map amendments tonight. One thing that I want to mention about zoning map amendments for each of them, we heard a lot of testimony from the applicants and the members, the commenters about the redevelopments of those projects, even getting into some nitty-gritty design aspects. But what we are looking at for these zoning map amendments is really just to review that in itself, the current zoning against the proposed zoning. And for that, we have 4 review requirements for zoning map amendments. So we'll be going back to those and comparing the project against those. I'm always happy to pull up the staff report on the screen so we can kind of read through those together should you guys want that. All right, that's the end of my spiel. I'll give it back to Dave.
Okay, so we'll begin with case number 2, M022021, to amend the zoning map by rezoning properties located at 663 through 665, 667 through 669, 671 to 673, 679, 695 through 697, 701 through 703, and 705 to 715 Culver Road from R2 medium density residential to C2 community center to facilitate Park Place Automotive redevelopment project, an action requiring City Planning Commission recommendation to City Council. Need a motion?
So move.
Mr. Marlin moves. Need a second? Is that Milton?
Sure.
Okay. I thought I heard you second. Okay. All right. Discussion. Any concerns, questions, comments?
Can you explain the motivation? Is there any other motivation beyond the fact that the gentleman with the garage is trying to legalize the use of one of those parcels?
He's expanding his business, and it'll actually encompass 3 parcels.
Okay.
It was basically a parking thing, wasn't it? They went to add more parking spaces and realized that they had to combine parcels and it wasn't a legal use. And oh, by the way, this also didn't work. And so it became kind of a redevelopment project instead of just adding a little extra parking.
Yeah.
And what does that do to the residences there, the houses next to the restaurant and then the other 2?
Yeah, so of the remaining 5 properties, the mixed use one that you mentioned, and then the few multifamily ones that they mentioned, that those will become conforming to the district, that the changes to the R2 or the C2 district, it's not going to create any non-conforming. Those will be legitimate uses in this new district.
All right. Any other concerns? Any other questions?
I was just going to say most of that whole stretch is commercial buildings. There are the 2 residences there that are sort of set back across from East, but this makes sense to me for sort of making it consistent with what's happening there.
It does make sense. I just wanted to know what did that do to the residences, so.
Yeah, it's a good question to ask. One thing that you'll notice that's new around this time with the staff reports is I apologize for the poor photocopy, but I included a map of the comprehensive plans placemaking plan, so you can kind of get an idea of where the placemaking plan is starting to slate this this area out. So that could potentially coincide with your findings for the first review requirement of the zoning map amendment.
Yeah, that was page 12 of the staff report.
Thanks.
All right, any other discussion, any other concerns?
No, I was going to suggest that we go through those requirements, 1, 2, 3, 4.
That'd be great.
And but maybe after we do that, we'll need to go back and take a look at the any waivers that we have to do, Anna?
Yeah, we won't have to do any waivers
Okay.
for this one, just because we're looking at the land,
It's the land use, not the
the use,
building yet.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the main things here, and even there's a lot, the list is short, like with special permits, you have those requirements. The list here for zoning maps is a little more concise with just the 4 items that begin at the bottom of page 1.
Okay. Okay, so there would be, A, B, C, and D?
That's correct.
Okay. So the consistency with A is consistency with city's comprehensive plan and other adopted special area plans. And I would say, yes, it's consistent.
Yes.
All right, anyone else? Comments? B.
Anna, I have trouble reading that placemaking plan page.
12.
Like, could you interpret for
Yeah,
bad-eyed persons like what it calls for in the area that's subject to rezoning?
sure. The first, what I'm actually going to direct you to in the beginning is the under project information, the last paragraph, the third one. It talks about how the properties are identified in the flexible mixed use character area of Rochester 2034. So the comp plan lists out all these different character areas. This one is flexible mixed use. And then in the narrative of that character area, they talk a lot about commercial and mixed use structures. And then we go on to the plan that it's not your fault, Tom, it's my silly mapping skills. But it puts a tiny little dot right where our project is, and you can see how this shade that we're looking at is a continuation of this like flexible mixed use, and it almost creates a corridor, so to speak. But this is kind of playing off of Doreen Kirkmeyer and Jill Weidrich's presentation in the beginning about kind of starting to map out future land use with the zoning alignment project.
Thank you.
Yeah, that can be very useful to us, I think. Thank you, Anna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start creating with our zoning, with the applicable projects that would kind of rely off the placemaking plan would be these zoning map amendments. So should there be any future zoning map amendments, we can include this map for you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll continue with B on the zoning review of the requirements for zoning map amendments, compatibility with the present zoning and conforming uses of nearby property and with the character of the neighborhood. Yes, no?
Carrie, do you mind
Yeah.
just, since I have my notepad in front of me, do you mind kind of repeating what you were talking about earlier with your experience traveling on this location and understanding of how it works?
Yeah, I was actually just going to say it's compatible with present zoning because it abuts a residential neighborhood, but it would be more compatible with this change, frankly, because
Right.
that whole corridor along Culver there's Lorraine's Lunch Basket, there's a pizza parlor at the corner, there is Habitat for Humanity, there is a furniture shop, there is a restaurant, there's a gas station at the corner, there's this automotive place, and then there's 2 potentially residential, and I think we found one is mixed use and one is residential. So it is more consistent with this sort of mixed use development that the zoning would then support. So it just makes more sense than the current, I think it's R2, which
Mhm.
is bizarre,
Yes.
having a strip of businesses and an R2 edge, but it's one of those little edgy areas.
Some would call me a little edgy area at times.
Okay, anything else, Annie, you need?
Do you want to finish off our list with C?
Oh,
and
yeah,
D?
yeah, I was gonna finish the list, but with B.
Yeah, I kind of just covered both B and C. It's, it's consistent because it edges up to an R2 neighborhood that's B.
Yeah, C is suitability uses proposed in the zoning.
Exactly, for the
amendment.
switch, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so
And
there's,
Plenty of public services and infrastructure. It's an arterial street, it's a bus line, it's,
Right.
it's not gonna put any,
undue burden.
exactly.
All right, and then D, availability of public services and infrastructure generally suitable and adequate for the allowed uses within the proposed district. And yes, I think for the reasons that Carrie just said, bus lines, amenities, services.
Great.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, all right, anything else? Oh, is it page 5 where we have to do no, we don't have to do the variances. No. All right, any other questions, any other concerns? All right, all those in favor of recommending the zoning map amendment? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody vote? Yep.
I'm afraid my audio cut out for a good portion of this,
Oh, we didn't hear you.
and I had to actually reboot. I had to reboot to get back in.
Oh,
My
okay.
audio cut out for most of the discussion. From what I've heard Terry saying, and I agree that it's basically consistent with the corridor.
Right.
And so I don't have any objection to it.
So your vote is yes?
Yeah, it'd be yes.
Okay, so
Could
we have,
could we please go along with all the members and each one say what your vote is?
okay, so we'll do it again alphabetically. Carrie?
Harry Carroll, aye.
Brad Flower, aye.
and Eugenio Marlin, I.
Richard Mauser, aye.
Milton Pichardo, aye.
Steve Rebholz, aye.
Dave Watson, aye.
Great. So by a motion of 700, or by a vote of 700, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, Anna's taking care of that. We'll start with case number 3, or continue with case number 3. 03-20-21, 15, 19, 23, 41, and 45 Scher Street, 68, 74, 78, 84, 88, and 106 Craig Streets to amend the zoning map by rezoning these properties from R1 low density residential to M1 industrial to align with the zoning map of the existing land uses and actually requiring city planning commission recommendation to city council. Need a motion?
Harry Carroll, so motion?
Brad Flower, second.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Carrie. All right, discussion, any concerns, questions?
Wait, who did the motion? I didn't, there was talk.
Carrie. Carrie did the motion. Brad seconded.
I beat him by a millimeter.
Oh.
Not for long. He'll get you next time.
Yeah.
Any questions or concerns?
How was this residential?
I was gonna say the
When
same
was this
thing.
residential? Was
Why
this,
was this R1?
Remember, we had an old
yeah, like
code.
1886? I mean, this was not residential.
I understand.
So, but a question about the residential, as with the last case,
Mhm.
those 2 little tiny properties there that are actually residential,
Yes.
they're kind of grandfathered in, right? As long as
Absolutely.
they don't have any
Yeah.
problems with their titles and blah, blah. So
Right.
yeah, this is,
The only thing I would push back on is zoning code doesn't have language about grandfatheredness, but in our jargon, they do have non-conforming rights.
Right.
So
okay, perfect.
Was that product of the last zoning where everything was being downzoned to R1 every place they could?
It might have been, Eugenio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what I was told was that, well, as Doreen said during her session at the beginning, they didn't much focus on land use or land use as part of the comp plan. So when they were doing the rezoning, they like ran out of time before they did the whole map.
Mhm.
And so they just, okay, we didn't have time to get to these. The default will be R1.
R1, everything was
For like
R1.
everything that we didn't get to.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
recall, the intent was to go back and look at all those properties that were R1 and
Right.
change that zoning.
So hopefully this time that'll be fixed. For those that
And-
have not been fixed yet.
And the other thing that I saw is the big contrast across the street, because those houses on the other side are very well kept,
Yes.
very residential. You know, so it's shocking.
Yeah, you know, it's a neighborhood.
Yeah, it is a neighborhood.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
but,
Any other,
but it is what it is.
absolutely. Yep. Right. Any other concerns? Any other questions? All right. All those in favor of recommending the zoning change for these properties, starting with Carrie Carroll,
Aye.
Brad Flower, aye.
Eugenio Marlin, aye.
Richard Mauser, aye.
Middleton, Pichardo, aye.
Steve Rebholz, aye.
Dave Watson, aye.
By a vote of 7-0-0, the motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, excuse me, case number 4, E-36-19-20, 1240, 1252 East Main Street, 4 through 6, 8 through 8.5, and 10 Laurel Street, to establish a 62 space ancillary parking lot that is in excess of 110% of the parking requirement to serve a 20,000 square foot, 2-story police station and neighborhood service center at 1200 East Main Street, and action requiring City Planning Commission approval. Motion?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Marlin?
Seconded.
Thank you, Mr. Flower.
Yeah.
All right, discussion? Any concerns, questions?
I let Brad win.
Thanks, Carrie.
We'll note that for the record.
It doesn't matter to me how I get it.
Any concerns?
Yeah, we talked about this extensively
Yeah.
when we looked at the original plan, when we approved the original plan, so I think this is, I don't want to say a rubber stamp because it is important to review and make sure that it's consistent, but they made their case that it was required. They need parking for both the police station and the visitors and the community center. And it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think everything that they said that they have as far as the making the 6-foot high fence, having it locked or accessible only to the police makes sense. And I think I think it's a good project.
Yeah.
No, do we have any?
Yeah, so there are a number of things that we will have to waive in regards to the parking. The first item is at the bottom of the page in regards to the proposed ancillary parking lot being located in a more restrictive district than the principal use. So that kind of touched on the applicant's presentation.
Right. And I think based upon the categories that we're looking at having been rezoned, it makes sense. And I think I would be willing to weigh that. Okay. Anyone else have any concerns?
No, that makes sense.
Okay. All right, Anna, what's the next one?
The next one is that the ancillary parking lots need to be equipped and controlled to discourage illegal parking. So you know that the patrol car sections will be, but the public lot itself will not have gate, like there won't be a gate or anything of that nature.
And I think with that as well, I think based that, it is a police station parking lot, they'll have people come in and out. And I think there'll be adequate controls not to require security for that. Any other concerns or questions, feedback? Okay, we'll waive that.
The next one is kind of a two-part, and it talks about the required number of spaces and then also the not to exceed 110%. So that gets into the conversation, like we're reviewing it as a project as a whole, and that got into the conversation with the parking demand analysis that you guys were kind of talking about at the beginning.
Okay, now that's which number is that?
So these are the first two items of the middle table on page 2.
Where it says requirements 120-173.
Not met. Yep, that's the one.
Okay. Yeah, and again, I think, again, based upon the testimony and what we heard, I think it makes sense to waive those. I think it's appropriate, even though it's not meeting the guidelines exactly, but I think it meets the spirit of the guidelines.
Yeah, in 120, 192B, we talk about a lot about like the unique physical conditions or the particular character.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you guys were mentioning the nature of this use kind of being different.
Mm-hmm. All right, any other concerns?
Just have a quick question. Are you also looking at the rest of 120-173? So you talk about the 110%, but there are other items that you also need to waive.
Yeah, the setback and the frontage and the non-residential uses.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. 6 foot. And again, I think, with the parking setback for non-residential, again, I think the nature of the lot kind of provides some constraints for that. And I think that it's appropriate to modify or to waive that based on the constraints that the environment has, the lot actual size.
Okay, and that's for the
Parking setback. I'm sorry, for the non-residential uses.
got you. Thank you.
And then the parking setback, the last one from the street frontage, again, that's a similar concern. Okay. You have limited space, you have limited numbers of parking spots you can put in that space, and you have to do what you can to optimize that, and giving up some of the setback, to me, is more than appropriate or acceptable to waive. Anybody else have a concern, question, add, subtract?
Nope, I completely concur. It's a urban, even the side lot there on Laura Street is kind of caged off now. So I don't find anything exceptional.
Okay.
No exception, but.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Anna?
Yeah, so now we're moving on to the next table, which talks about the requirements for the particular zoning district, the R2. The first one being lot coverage.
And again, I think for those four, at least to me, I think the same as we mentioned before, is that the constraints of the lot itself, again, I think they were able to provide the adequate amount of usage with the space. And I think we can, at least I'd be willing to waive those proposed requirements.
Anna, is one of these lots, did they mention being part of the green program? Like you're gonna have permeable pavement?
Yeah.
He mentioned, I think it was going to be the secured lot, I think. I wasn't sure if it was the whole bulk lots or just the secured lot.
Richard, you're muted.
I recall him only mentioning the secure lot.
Just a secured?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I heard.
Okay, good. All right, so Anna, we'll waive all those four.
Okay. And then there are just the requirements that you all are very familiar with, which are for special permits, starting with just being in harmony with the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, and I think that we've, given the testimony that we heard, it fits right in with what they want to do and provide for the city and for the safety of the citizens.
Okay.
All right, anything else that we have to do? Nope. All right, any other concerns, questions, additions? All right, this is something that we vote on. So everybody ready to vote? All right, starting with Carrie.
I and I. I am ready and I vote.
Thank you.
Red Flower, aye.
Eugenio, I.
Richard Mauser, aye.
Milton Pichardo, aye.
Steve Rebholz, aye.
Dave Watson, aye.
By a vote of 7-0-0, the motion passes.
All right, thank you. And we'll continue with case number 5, 156 Ames Street, to establish a waste station, regulated medical waste transfer only facility in an existing building, an action requiring City Planning Commission approval. In a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr.
Seconded.
Marble. Second?
Brett Flower seconded.
Thank you,
I
Brett.
swear, thank you. Is it like
She was waiting.
hand motions?
All right,
It's
discussion.
like Jeopardy when they
Hit
they
the
answer
button.
before they hit the button, you know, the unmute button.
Discussion.
I didn't know these things existed.
Yeah.
I mean, this kind of business?
Yeah, like storage of these things. I mean, it sounds. I mean, I don't have any comments. It's just interesting.
Yep, new to you.
You know.
Yeah, I think a good use of that facility.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the questions that I can't remember who. I think either Richard or someone had the questions about the Sykes Street.
Yep.
And again, it's part of a commercial or manufacturing zone, I think. There's one house on the corner of Sykes and Ames that I believe is a rental. I don't think it's family owned, but I think this is one of the only houses directly across from the facility that would be impacted. And I think both the driveways on that property are wide enough to be able to have trucks back in and be hidden if they need to be.
Yeah, they had a huge parking lot and it's set down the block a fair amount from that house
Yes.
right on the corner.
Mhm.
So it's kind of, that house won't be bothered by
Right.
a tractor trailer twice a week or whatever it is.
Right, and I think, the concerns about the curb cut, I think that there are already curb cuts there already for both the entrances of that site. So, yeah, to me, that's not a major issue or major reason why I would want to deny it.
Right.
Let me just ask you this. It's basically, how does he put it? It's basically biohazards, I guess, that are well contained. I'm paraphrasing here. No hazardous material will be opened, disposed of, etc., treated. There is some residential just a little further up the block. Not a lot, but I don't know. I'm not sure if there's any concern about that. Like what happens when these things start, get bounced around and bounced open or something, or maybe it's not an issue, but
In a prior life, I had to advise like U of R on medical waste, and I learned that it is so heavily regulated by DEC that
Spills and things are not a
there's
concern.
not going to be spills. There's containers, the way they're watched like a hawk, and there's just so many requirements about containers, and like their 72-hour rule, and that they have to do manifests for everything they take and give, and it's handled very carefully. For them to get a license to actually operate there, they have to have all kinds of safety provisions in place.
So a heavy paper trail.
Yeah. and inspections and lots of structural requirements about how they, stack things. And,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely a mishap would happen.
Oh, yeah, I would say pretty unlikely. And I think the response that he gave you when you asked him about security, I think made a lot of sense that the cabs would be locked, the sliding doors would be locked, and then I'm sure they'd be locked inside the fence as well. So you have several layers of security, physical security that you can count on.
I was also thinking that Milton's question probably prompted them to take a look again to make sure they got it covered, and maybe add a little more and throw in a camera, or, it's
right.
Now that I've gone on record saying you don't have to worry about it.
Right. Right. Any other concerns?
Yeah, well, not so much. Just, I guess, a question maybe more for staff. So there must be a reason these stations have these additional regulations in an M1 zone. So M1 is generally like 24/7, trucks can come in and out, that kind of thing. But here they ask for some additional protections to separate a waste station from residential. And I'm curious, is that because waste stations are usually much larger? The scale of this one is smaller, or is there what's the reason for the additional protections that the special permit and these requirements impose? Does it have to do with scale, or does it have to do with activity?
I'm referencing the definition of in the zoning code. We call out, we provide a definition for waste stations, and in that, and which is also included on the first page of the staff report, and that we talk a lot about the materials which are stored. And I think this is a protection measure in case, given the nature of certain materials that would be processed, like that would be transferred to a landfill or recycling. This is a protection to residentials. Not some waste does have a smell, some waste has all these other strings attached. So this is kind of doing a more thorough examination of what the waste actually is.
Makes sense.
So in this case, because the waste is containerized, it wouldn't be smelling.
Right.
So the distance separations, that makes sense. Thanks.
And I think, Steve, you're probably right on track with it. The regulations contemplated something maybe larger. When we talk about curb cuts and such, it's a larger site.
All right. Anything else? Any other concerns?
I guess I might as well say it's not really a concern, but none of us have been through a pandemic before. So obviously, I know that when it comes to land use, there's really not much we could say or do. But when it comes to signage, for instance, if they have the truck parked there for overnight purposes, should they have any type of signages or something? So if kids around the area, whoever goes around the area, kind of know that there's hazardous material, or maybe a truck that was just at a hospital less than 24 hours ago. So
I guess I'm going to assume that, just like anything that's hazardous, there's the little triangle signs that are put on those vehicles. And I'm going to assume that the same thing would take place for something like this.
Right.
Given that they're heavily regulated, I'm sure that that's probably more the case than not.
Okay, very well. I'm ready.
Any other concerns, Ricardo? Milton, I mean.
Oh, no, I'm fine. Thank you.
All right. Any other concerns? Any other questions?
If you're before you guys vote, just remember to go through the additional requirements that this one's subject to. There are 6 of them, and this project is not meeting 4 of them. So if you could just, for my sake and for the applicant's sake, when they receive my formal letter, if you could just elaborate on
the staff report.
Yeah, they begin on the bottom of page 1 in that table.
Yeah, no court.
Oh, ABC. Okay, those 6 there. Okay. Again, A, no curb cuts or driveways provided access to local collector street shall be used or established. Again, I think the curb cuts already exist from pre-existing usage. And I think they're not going to need more. So I would be willing to waive that.
Great.
So, yeah, this is Steve Rebholz here. I think the frequency they described, 2 box trucks a day and 1 tractor trailer every other day, suggests that waiving this is appropriate.
Appropriate.
Agreed.
And maybe before, would that be for both, for A, B, and C as of right now?
Yes.
I would recommend that.
Yep.
Yeah, the storage is adjacent to an R2 district, but again, it's a very large industrial site, well set back from the side street. I mean, the building is a football field away, so that storage, it's not like it's directly next door, 6 feet against the property line of a little R1 single family dwelling.
Right.
So I'm comfortable with waiving C as well.
Okay. And then D, the storage shall be at least 200 feet away from any commercial district and
Is met.
It meets that one,
yeah, exceeds that.
Yeah, and the other one.
and there's no burden.
Likewise with E, they're not, everything is self-contained and it's hauled away. And refuse trucks, refuse trailers shall be emptied. Okay, but these are not refuse trucks. Their containers are sealed and they're hauled away every 72 hours. For F.
I don't see a huge difference between storing the containerized waste in a locked tractor trailer versus in the locked building.
Right.
Not like it's a high security facility, so you're
Yeah.
losing your security controls by keeping it in the truck.
Mhm. Richard?
Yeah, I
think that's
agree.
well.
I agree with Carrie on that one. It seems like it'll be just as well locked up in the truck as it would in the building. So
Behind the
building
same
is not a
thing.
fault.
Okay. Anna, you have everything you need?
I do appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. That's what we're here for, to make your life easy. All right. Any other discussion? Any other concerns?
Do we actually have to sing happy birthday to Anna?
Maybe later. We'll.
Yeah. Don't pair that with hazardous waste.
Good point, Richard. Good point. I don't know what reminded Carrie to say it just then, but we'll move on.
We're talking about mortality and things of danger, like a pandemic. And
I understand. Okay, what we'll do now, we'll vote starting with Carrie.
I vote in favor.
All right.
Brad Flower, aye.
Eugenio Marlin, yes.
Richard Mauser, aye.
Milton Pichardo, aye.
Steve Rebholz, aye.
Dave Watson, aye.
Great. Thank you all. By a vote of 7-0, the motion passes.
Okay. Case number 6, E-02-20-21, 854 South Clinton Avenue to establish 30-space ancillary parking lot that is in excess of 110% of the requirement to serve multifamily dwelling at 625 South Goodman Street, and that's requiring City Planning Commission approval. Motion?
So
Motion.
move.
Seconded.
And seconded by Carrie.
I mean, maybe.
I know, yeah, it was a fraction of a second. You were almost there. All right, discussion?
Well, yeah, on Craig Place, I guess it was interesting, the one comment that we had, which is that they want to take, the neighbors seem to want to take some traffic off the street. So in that sense, providing the access, the exiting from this parking lot onto Clinton really does help. The only thing is that, the entrance to their existing parking lot off Craig is, am I saying that right, Craig? Is
Hard.
Is
It's
two-way.
Carges.
Carges, thank you. Yeah. Wrong case here. Cardiff Street. So, that's two-way. So that's, maybe it takes some of the pressure off of Cardiff Street, Cardiff's place there by having this access to Clinton that way. I was at first a little bit skeptical about doing another curb cut, but I'm thinking,
Richard, you're breaking up on us.
It's all cognac.
Oh, I love cognac.
Richard, we can't hear you. Richard, we can't hear you.
Call hasta la vista, baby.
Is he on mute?
Is there an easy, oh, he left again. I was gonna
He's
say.
probably coming back.
Call-in number?
It's gonna.
Okay, well, go ahead, Eugenio.
No. I said I thought he was going to just have to reload, but he's
Let's
back.
double check that we can hear Richard.
He's
Richard, can you hear
muted.
us? I don't think
Can you
Richard.
hear
can
us?
hear us.
He's muted.
I can now. Yeah, but I
I'm gonna
cut
unmute
out.
him.
For me.
Yeah.
I got booted out.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Richard, if worse comes to worse, I can give you the phone number and you can kind of just use your phone and call in. Would you prefer that, or do you want to try to endure
Well,
this?
this is my last one for.
This is
tonight.
last one.
Let's see if this. Yeah. So yeah, I missed any discussion that came up after I spoke, and I'm not sure if you heard everything I said, but
We didn't have much discussion. We were trying to get you back.
okay.
What? Any other discussion?
Yeah, this is Steve Repholz. And I guess one thing that I mentioned during my questions was the way that the chain link, the black coated chain link fence was gonna kind of butt up against South Clinton,
Mm-hmm.
really getting kind of into the front yards. And it seemed like there was that bench and there was a little decorative fence there. I understand this is going through site plan review. Has the preliminary findings. Would site plan be able to kind of fine tune that interface with what would I think be perceived as a front yard along South Clinton? The adjoining buildings are set back a bit. And so it seems like the fence running right out to the sidewalk was a little abrupt to me.
Agreed.
Especially where there's a bench and a tree and a decorative fence that's kind of set back a little bit.
It's within your authority as a planning commission to
Condition.
set conditions that you think are necessary to mitigate an ancillary parking lot and its effects, so.
Yeah, so I think
But
some
when-
degree of setback to the fence, but because the plan is so small, it's so hard for me to say how far it should be set back. So I think if site plan review could really take a little bit of a look at that. I mean, I could say 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet, but I'm just not sure from the site plan exactly where that decorative fence is and the tree and the but it just felt like running the fence right out to the sidewalk was not
appropriate.
No.
So you could put some sort of condition on it that said that you would like the manager of zoning to evaluate a fence proposal so that blah, blah, blah.
Maybe let me suggest something, Steve. That both the fences on it would be the north side and the south side of the new street, go no further than the gate, a line that connects the gate, and so that it goes to the edge of the gate, and then you have a fence that takes part of the gate, and then it connects across to the other side.
Well,
So
I'm afraid the gate might be out kind of far as well.
Yeah, they can push it all the way out.
Yeah.
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 And for me, it's not just that the fence came up to the street. It's so I'm reading everything about neighborhood mixed use because that's what this area is supposed to be in,
Mm-hmm.
and how we really, 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 really need to stop designing for cars. We really need to stop sort of acquiescing to tons of surface parking lot. And this is a parking lot added on to a parking lot that is sort of technically behind the building. So it's consistent with the neighborhood mixed use stipulations in that sense. But in another, it is right on South Clinton there. So there's the big that goes in. So you're taking up a really valuable piece of real estate, getting rid of a parklet, putting a chain link fence out at the street. I mean, there seems to be kind of a general disregard for the facade on South Clinton there. It's just become a parking access exit. So I definitely want to see something pretty there, something that kind of blends it in as a front yard that doesn't just suddenly say, here's another access road, here's another access, or cars coming out, access road, access road. It just, it's.
So Steve, looking at this, at the map that's on the screen right now, on the left side where the X is, that's set back from where they have the actual gate. Would that be far enough back?
So, yeah, this is actually not what they described. They described that the entire front was going to be open without a fence.
Understand. They wanted to follow the red line all the way out to the street.
No, they described, well, what I understood them to describe was that the frontage along South Clinton would have no fence whatsoever.
Correct.
But this diagram shows a fence.
Yes.
I guess from my standpoint, pulling that fence back to roughly the setback of the building to the right.
Up there where the FC is? On the
Zoom out a little bit, Anna.
Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah, that two-story frame house, if you kind of look at that as visually your front yard. I mean, even though there's not really front yards along here, right? But if I'm driving, I guess, north on South Clinton, I would see that as kind of the front yard. And I'd like to see the fence. Well, I'd like the manager of zoning to take a closer look at this. It would be appropriate to move the fence back.
So if you want to say, I mean, you can condition it. The manager of zoning doesn't have to necessarily look at this. If you're looking at this drawing and a planning commission decides that you want the fence relocated so that the gate lines up with the corner of the two-story frame house on this drawing, and then is set up from there, you can do that. It's up to you.
And I guess my only concern with that would be that potentially we might lose one of those 4 parking spaces.
So, and that's where the option comes with, you could say the manager of zoning to explore moving that back so that there's a little wiggle room for the applicant, so that if there's a particular reason why that can't be done, we can at least hash that out.
I'm comfortable with that.
Well, there's, that area, grass area inside the fence is their snow storage for that part. So, I think when it moves back, he's probably going to lose a parking spot. Which I agree that it's too close to the street, but just keep in mind that probably what we're really saying is take away 1 parking spot.
So maybe the condition looks something like, the manager of zoning the applicant work with the manager of zoning to explore the possibility of relocating the fence so that there's more green space in the front of the property and still provides for the same number of parking spaces and proper snow storage.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Same number.
Okay, I'd agree with that.
And I believe there's snow storage, not to say that it's not going to snow over here, but their proposed snow storage areas were over here.
Yep.
And then over here.
Okay. All right, so we'll add that as a condition.
Where are the snow storage, Ariana?
They were talking about the shared location with this parking lot. So where my little
area there, yes.
And then
I see.
a small smidgen over here, but
Yeah, it's weird that they do the contour line. Essentially, it's coming down to the drain, but they're gonna do the snow on completely different location. So instead of
all right, now Anna, I'm sorry, Milton.
No, that's fine. I was just talking about, it's funny that they're gonna do the drainage out a little farther away than where they're gonna actually have the snow storage. But I agree with Steve and I agree with Joe. I think Joe comment is accurate. I think if she review it, they submit another drawing. I think these have potential.
Okay.
Because I'm hearing what your thoughts are on this, your intent. And so this way, you know, because it wasn't discussed with the applicant, we at least have a little wiggle room to figure out how it works for everyone.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Cool.
Okay. Now, Anna, do we have to do the compliance
The
requirements?
concerns were raised by Judy Hay about the front yard stuff in front of the applicant. I mean, by her letter.
The front yard, I mean, as far as green space?
Yeah,
I think that will potentially be solved if we move the fence back.
but you could also make the condition that you don't burden Jill with the requirement to not even lose one parking space. Like if they're saying they need
Here, here.
parallel parking right up to the street. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you all, so.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure that we were limiting her ability to do that.
So she said that
Yeah, Jill
she
mentioned
would
something
condition
about-
it on not, on having the same number of not reducing the parking capacity.
Well, but you don't necessarily have to condition on that. You could just say, condition it on the applicant working with the managers of zoning on relocating the fence.
Yeah, and I think
So that green space is provided in the front yard.
yeah, to me that gets at both issues.
Okay, yeah, I like that better than,
It's a heck of a lot shorter, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Anna?
Yeah, so just as so there are 4 things you guys are waiving: the parking requirement, the exceeding the maximum amount, and then this aisle width right here, and then also the front yard setback. So in this zoning district, we want between 0 and 5 feet, but they're proposing 9 feet. So this dimension and this dimension are 2 of the things that you would potentially waive, but it would have to be based off of any kind of unique circumstance to do with this site and this use.
Okay, so we'll go through the first one. The required parking spaces that they're requiring 104, and then they're proposing 30? That's not right.
120.
Proposing 30, I think.
They're
It wasn't 30.
They're
Currently
proposing
available.
120.
30, right?
30 at this location with a total of 120 with the two parking lots.
Okay, so yeah, so both one and 2 are part of the same. So again, I think based upon the size of the lot or proposed lot and the dimensions and the setbacks, they're confined, and I think I would be willing to waive those requirements.
To be unanimous when waiving requirements?
Say again?
Do we have to be unanimous when waiving requirements?
no, you don't.
Nope.
I do not want to waive that one.
The 104,
The 120.
120?
Yeah, so wasn't it that with 110, they're permitted that they get to 114? Am I remembering this correctly? And so they're
Okay.
exceeding it by 6 spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So all that waiver is getting them is just 6 spaces.
Okay.
I'm just recalling it from the testimony. I don't.
Yeah, that's what it has here on the staff report. All right, anyone else that does not want to waive 120?
Brad, if you're talking to us, you're muted.
Thank you, Anna. I'm with Carrie for the same reasons that she already stated. We're talking, like we keep harping on, like every month that we have people that give us a little bit of grief about parking and there's not enough. And our stance historically has been, but we're in a dense city, and that's the way it is, and we shouldn't have to add parking. We should figure out other ways. It feels a little bit dissonant with me, so I'm with Carrie on this one and not wanting to expand past the maximum.
Okay, understand. Anybody else does not want to waive 120?
Well,
Well, by lack of speaking up, everybody else is in favor of waiving that?
Let's take the vote.
Go ahead, Richard.
I'm, I don't, do they really absolutely have to have 120 or, to me, if they got 108,
You're cutting out again, Richard.
119, and we get the setback. If we have 119 and you get the green space in the front, that's not as much of an imposition.
We can't understand you, Richard. We've lost you.
Who was here?
Richard, would you want to waive the 120 or not?
Well, yeah, I know. Sorry. Either way, you're,
Richard has said in the chat that he would accept 119 spaces with the condition of green space.
I'd even go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd even go 116. I mean, I kind of look at it as, okay, give them their parking lot in the back. That gets them a lot more parking than they've got. And it doesn't, impact Clinton Street except for a driveway. I mean, but it does also take stress off Cargus Place. Did I get that right?
Okay, so if I hear you correctly, we have 3 people who don't want to waive it and everybody else that want to waive it. Is that correct, Anna?
That is what I have.
This is Steve Rebholz. I'm in favor of waiving it. The testimony in the letters suggested that there was support for the additional parking. And the concerns from the original development was that there was not enough parking.
From the beginning, yes.
In favor of waiving 114 to the proposed 120.
Yeah, and I agree with Steve.
Yeah.
And Milton?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree that when it comes to parking, if although we want density, we want people to walk and things like that, in this case, we're not gaining so much by not allowing them to get the remaining one. So if they will be gaining something significant by me telling them now, then yeah, but essentially it's going to be a little green space, but ultimately people are going to end up parking there anyway. So I'd rather have parking.
Okay. All right. So Anna, you have that. So we have a majority that want to waive that. So that'll be waived along with the first one. And then the traditional 90-foot designated design standard, the 24-foot width, they're recommending 22. I think based on the testimony that makes sense, I would say to waive that as well.
I'm okay with waiving that one.
Anybody else? Anybody not in favor of waiving the 22 feet or the 22 feet? Okay, Anna, you're all set, Anna? And then the last but not least, the maximum front yard setback requirement from 0 to 5 to 9 feet. Again, I think I would like to waive that just based on the site. It dictates more what should be done as opposed to what the standard rules are.
Agreed.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay, Anna, are we all set with those 4? All right, anything else we have to do?
No, your general discussion was able to give me enough to go off of with the special permit standard. So thank you for addressing those issues.
All right, thank you guys. All right.
Can I just ask a question of Tom Worth?
Yes.
Tom, because there were some, some planning commissioners felt differently
Mhm.
about waiving. Do you want a separate vote on that particular waiver?
Well, I think we had,
We did, didn't we?
I did a consensus vote. There were 3 that said they were against it, and the rest of us said that we were in favor of it. We could vote that if you wish.
Yeah, how do you want to handle that?
Is that an Anna question
Um,
or Tom?
yeah, I guess it's up to the people that dissent from that want it on the record that they voted against that waiver, then I will call that separately.
Right.
I'd like to go on record that I sided against cars on one thing, okay?
But
Thanks,
just for
Richard.
one space, right, Richard?
And that we heard crystal clear.
One space, yes.
Okay.
To the dark side you go.
All right, so then I guess we call a vote for that particular one.
Okay,
Was every other waiver unanimous?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll go back and we'll revote for the 120 proposed parking spaces. All those in favor of waiving the 120-foot parking spaces, please vote now. Carrie?
No.
Nay, Brad.
Yes, Eugenio.
Richard Mauser, no.
Milton Pichardo, yes.
Steve Rebholz, yes.
Dave Watson, yes.
Okay. By a vote of
5 to 3.
4 to 3.
4 to 3,
Oh, 4.
the motion passes. Thank you.
But that's just for the waiver, correct?
It's only for the waiver, correct? So it
Yeah.
will be on the record, in the written record, that there was not a unanimous decision on the waiver of this, so that those points will be touched on.
Okay, so now we can actually vote on the plan.
Yes.
Right. All right. So any other question, any other discussion?
And in this vote, is it going to include the condition that you guys were discussing earlier?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, everybody understand the condition?
We do.
All right, we'll start voting. Carrie?
Carrie Carroll, nay.
Brad Flower, nay.
Eugenio, yes.
Richard Mauser, no.
Milton Pichardo, yes.
Steve Rebholz, yes.
Dave Watson, yes.
By a vote of 4-3-0, the motion passes.
All right, thank you, guys. Good discussion.
One more.
Here, yep. Oh, no, I'm saying good.
Oh,
I hadn't forgotten the
no.
last.
I have something.
Yes.
It was approved on condition.
Yes, with condition, with condition.
Let me do that one more time. Thank you, Joe. By a vote of 4-3-0, the motion passes on condition. Thank you.
Okay. All right, good discussion. All right, we have one more case. We can let Richard go.
I'm out of here.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time, buddy.
Bye,
Thank you.
Richard.
Take
Cognac.
care. Oh, happy birthday, Anna.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, case number 1, M01-20-21, 17 through 19, 25, 29, 35, 37 through 39, 45 through 47, 51, 55 through 59 Federal Street, to amend the zoning map by rezoning properties located at those addresses from R1 low density residential to R2 medium density residential to facilitate Rochester Housing Authority redevelopment and action requiring City Planning Commission recommendation to City Council.
So I just want to give my same spiel that I gave for the other two zoning map amendments, which is we're here to discuss the zoning map amendment,
Not the
Not
project.
the
not
project.
the project and its design and things of that nature. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion?
So move.
Seconded.
Brad, I beat her to it. All right, discussion, concerns.
So I started off pretty concerned by the number of neighbors who were in opposition, but as often happens, it becomes about design of the project, et cetera.
Right.
I think it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. I think it
Mhm.
actually makes a good buffer between
Mhm.
R1 and C2 to do the
Mhm.
site two.
Yep.
It's already all, well, excuse me, with a couple of little exceptions, almost all two-family or mixed use or multifamily. So it's not a huge change to make this an
Right.
R2 district. And frankly, they're essentially replacing what's already there and adding a
Yeah.
couple of parking spaces.
Yeah,
So,
make it a little better,
although that's not something that we were necessarily
right?
looking at, that was the real concern of the people who were in opposition. And it I think will be borne out to be a false concern. It's not that they were wrong to think it, but that it's not going to play out that way.
Mhm.
So this makes a lot of sense to me. It looks, I didn't realize those buildings were empty, so it makes even more sense.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
ADA compliant housing, which there's a huge demand. They're adding a couple of 3 and 4 bedrooms, which there's something like 500 people on a waiting list for a 3-bedroom right now, which is insane. So it ticks a lot of really important, really beneficial boxes for me.
And I think the Neighborhood Community Association was obviously in favor of it. They've worked with them and are very happy with what they've seen.
Yep.
Mhm.
Right, anyone else? Any other concerns?
Well, I think it's a good use of the land.
Mhm.
It's, I mean, obviously they don't have all the budget. The design I would like a little different, but that this doesn't impact for me to make a decision today.
Mhm.
So that it just seems very suburban type of. It's, I feel like they could have worked a little more on the design to make it a little more cohesive with not necessarily the residential or the way we are actually designing nowadays. But it's okay. I don't think it's gonna affect my decision.
It's a money issue.
Yeah. They kind of acknowledged that too. They said, we did the best we could within budget.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Money issue.
that's what I figure. I figure it's just they don't have enough money, and they're gonna be serving a good community. So I'm okay with it.
Okay,
Staff too has an opportunity, as they pointed out, that RTS redesign is coming up soon. Well, soon in terms of planning could be 2090, but that Federal Street is very narrow and they get a ton of cut through traffic because again, people are avoiding the lights and whatever. So if there's an opportunity to nibble away at that RTS edge just a little to maybe add some on-street parking in that future development, that would be huge and
That'd be
resolve
nice.
all of these concerns.
all right, any other concerns, any other questions? I think a good project too. I think it hits all the buttons. I think it's, the right place. I was surprised. I'd never been that far down on Federal Street, so it's a nice little street.
Yeah.
Any other concerns? We don't have to do anything else other than make a recommendation, right, Anna?
There's one thing that if you guys don't mind discussing a little bit for my sake,
Mhm.
just the availability of public services and infrastructure. This is number D of the review requirements.
Again, I think we have an established housing unit or area that was serving the neighborhood. It had the amenities and services. This one appears will have as equally, if not more, amenities for that size OI.
Okay.
And again, unit for unit, you're replacing 17 with 18 kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it's not going to add additional demand. It
Mhm.
literally abuts the bus station. I mean, so all the amenities and services you could possibly want are there. And this project enhances them, to Mr. Watson's point, rather than detracting from them.
You all set, Anna?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, any other concerns, questions? All right, ready to vote? All right, start with Ms. Carey.
I vote in favor.
Red Flower, aye.
Eugenio, aye.
Milton Pichardo, aye.
Steve Rebholz, aye.
Dave Watson, aye.
And then, okay, so it is by a vote of 6. And is it 601?
Nope, 6-0-0.
601.
601.
601.
Well, I think it's I think it's 600 because
The one
there's
can't
not someone present taking part. They're not abstaining. They're just not there. So it's like 600.
Fair enough. 600.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That was a team effort. I appreciate you all. By a vote of 600, the motion passes.
Okay. All right. That
Happy birthday to Hannah.
Happy
Happy birthday to